Largest beef supplier in the world, JBS, reportedly paying the ransomware hackers who breached its computer networks about $11 million. We've been learning more and more, Jim, about how you managed to claw back some of the money you've gotten or how much you paid in the first place.
Well, one of the things that I had George Kurtz on last night. He's CEO of CrowdStrike. And he was saying, look, you have to understand, this is ransomware as a service. I mean, he's really talking about that the companies that are doing this, and he calls them companies, they're all over the place. They're hitting all these guys. And I thought this was really interesting. He says they're so sophisticated, they even have HR departments, the ransom attackers.
Really?
Yeah, he says they have HR departments. I said, well, that's pretty far gone. He goes, well, look, you don't understand. These are big companies. They go after companies typically that have not upgraded from Microsoft 95 or older Microsoft. They try to find who has that. They don't go after the ones that have a Palo Alto or a CrowdStrike. And they just target the guys who just haven't updated or spent the money.
So they're taking resumes at Evil Corp or whatever they call themselves.
Well, they do it. If
you want a job at Evil Corp, you better actually have the right kind of software experience.
Well, you know what floor they're on? They're on the 13th floor of the Empire State Building, right along with Thrush. No, but he was absolutely adamant that these companies are sophisticated, they recruit, they have HR, and they go after old Microsoft. And if they find it, they go.
This is what George Kurtz of CrowdStrike told Jim last night.
The adversaries are taking a page out of nation-state actors. They're actually getting in, they're staging their ransomware, they're deploying it using things like Microsoft technology to actually deploy it, which is just normal systems management software, activating it, and then creating a ransom for the companies. So it's become a big game hunting as opposed to just traditional ransomware.
I was stunned when the Colonial Pipeline CEO testified this week that his attack was based on single-factor authentication.
Yeah. I mean, look, you got to go spend money, okay? You got to go spend money. You got to bring in... What are you doing? Change my jacket. You got to bring in Okta. You got to. I feel very safe now.
Yeah, that.
I got to bring in occupational hazard. Bring in an Okta. You got to bring in CrowdStrike. You got to bring in Palo Alto. You got to bring in Zscaler. You got to bring in all these companies just to be sure that the bad guys say, "Hey, listen, I'm going after the guy who doesn't have any of this stuff. These guys have way too much. I'm going to go after the guys, the real clowns that haven't spent any money on it. And they got. They know, David.
They're very effective. This is not going to stop. We can't. At any point, it's hard
not
to imagine.
Not at all.
And by the way, we don't know how many corporations have actually paid, and we're not aware of it at all.
And you've
got to imagine quite a few.
But this idea that the FBI cracked it, cracked Bitcoin, does that make it mean that they do it in Ethereum, or does it mean that they can get that too?
We continue to run up against the issue of corporations sharing with not just the government, but with each other, so that you can actually come up with best practices, understand what's going on, continue to hear from leaders that you need more and more of that.
Right.
And so how many, will corporations now come forward and say we're the victim of a ransomware attack, we paid? Unclear. But that would be helpful, most likely, in terms of at least trying to deter this.
Or do we make it so you are prosecuted if you do pay, just as way you're not allowed to pay for kidnapping? That's the government rule. Now, yesterday, Kurt said that won't stop it. I think that what could stop at least a part of this is that if we as a country went very aggressively against the nation states. Now, he's not talking about nation states doing this one, but we don't do anything. I mean, the Chinese come in. The Russians have 1,000-person company. 1,000-person company going after us. I mean, they're taking resumes. I don't know.
Wow.
They have no HR department in Russia. But
President's meeting with Putin in less than a week.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.